Now, look, I know this may not be what you want to hear, but I'm not saying this to be mean. I'm saying this because this is factual. In 2024, you need to have your paperwork together before you walk into these banks. And I'm going to give you a prime example of exactly why you need to have your paperwork. And this is based off of a process I recently went through with a construction lender. But the process I just went through was crazy, even by my standards. And y'all know I missed the paperwork. I'm always advocating on having your paperwork together. So let me give you an insight on exactly what this process entailed, right? Before you actually write a contract on a property, you have to have proof of funds to basically demonstrate that you have the ability or the financial means to close on the property. After that, what I did was I wound up going with a preferred lender who basically is tied in with the construction builder. The reason why I did this is because they have a lot of incentives, right? So I actually got a 4% reduction on the total cost of the build. And so that was a no-brainer. Obviously could have gone with other institutions where I actually have a banking relationship, but I wanted to get, it was about $75,000 in builder credit. So part of that process was getting pre-approved. So I had to get a hard inquiry on all three credit bureaus, Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax, right? And so initially I got a $2 million pre-approval. There's a third-party company. You guys might be familiar with them. It's called Zactus. So Zactus pretty much does servicing, a lot of the verification for, different industries, whether that's title companies or mortgage lenders and so forth. So a lot of times, it may not be directly from whatever bank, but you actually see Zactus on your credit report because they're the ones who are doing, again, a lot of credit pulling, verification. You have to have 21 and 22 business and personal taxes. Now, this is going to vary depending on if you're self-employed. Now, if you're self-employed, you're going to have to provide the business return as well. And so again, this was in 2023. So again, they're looking backwards at the most recent 2 years. All right. What was interesting, this is something that I've never actually had to do before until recently. They wanted to see 21 and 22 federal tax payments withdrawn from your bank account. So literally what you had to do was go back and find the bank statement when federal tax payments was withdrawn from your bank account, your business bank account or your personal bank account, right? Not only that, if you go on to irs.gov, you can log in and view your tax accounts. You can actually see a log of all your previous tax payments, right? There's a number that comes with each of them. They have the date when the payment was made and for how much and for which tax year it actually is applied to, right? They wanted to see those two data points, right? And making sure those match. What's being withdrawn from your bank account also matches what's on record with the IRS. And the reason why I believe they asked for this is because what a lot of people will do is file taxes and then go back and amend the taxes and wind up, not actually making any payments on their taxes. 2023 profit and loss statement and W-2, because it wound up going into 2024 in terms of closing and the tax deadline did not hit yet for 2023. What they wanted to see was a profit and loss and a W-2. Now, this is the same information that can be gathered from your personal and business taxes. It's not going to have all the deductions and depreciation or anything like that, but it could basically let the lender know what your income was, right? And again, since I'm self-employed, we're going to take the W-2 income, and this is income that my business pays me, right? So I'm paying myself through my business. So that's going to be on the W-2. And then the profit from the business. The reason why they wanted to see this is because, again, 2021 and 2022 was a long time ago, right? And they want to know, okay, what does your most recent financial information look like? And then they do a 4506T tax transcript request, right? So a 4506T is basically when a lender will request your tax transcripts directly from the IRS. And so again, what they're probably doing here is verifying that what's been filed is actually reflective on tax return documents that you're submitting. So they're cross-referencing. The 4506T actually goes back all the way to 2020. When we really look at the full, financial picture that the construction lender has so far, 2020 21, 22, and again, they have profit and loss and W-2 for 2023. So that's 4 years of financial information, and they're gathering this from various different sources. The other thing I wanted to point out with the profit and loss, right? So this was coming out of QuickBooks. So as a business owner, you got to make sure that your books are up to date, because when you don't reconcile or confirm transactions in your accounting software, those transactions are not going to be counted when you go to pull like your P&L, right? Until you confirm, at least in QuickBooks, until you confirm or categorize those transactions, it's not going to populate to the financial statements. They want to see the earnest money deposit withdrawn from your bank account. So the builder requires a minimum 10% earnest money deposit of construction costs. That's basically your EMD is usually like what you put down when you go under contract, right? So this builder was requiring a minimum of 10%. And so the lender wants to see that I actually paid the builder that 10%. So they literally want to see your bank statement where the EMD is actually being withdrawn from your bank account. So you have to go find that statement and provide it to the, upload it to the portal. They also wanted to see the last 3 bank statements. So mind you, they have 4 years of financial information. With the last 3, since we did close in 24, they have January and February bank statements, as well as December of 23. All right. So that's the last 3 months. Now, here's why they want that information. 2020 could have been great. 21, 22, 23 could have been great. But what about right now? So the bank wants to make sure that you're solvent right now, right? So that if they give you this loan and you don't have no money coming in, how are you going to how are you going to service the loan, right? So they want to make sure that even at your most recent financial information shows that you're still bringing in some money, right? What the mortgage lenders do is they sort of extrapolate based off of how much revenue is coming through the business accounts, and then they make sure that it doesn't vary too far from previous financial information, right? So let's say, for example, I was making $20,000 a month on average last year, and then all of a sudden this year I'm making, $5,000. That can throw off your loan approval in some cases if that variance is too great. Is your most current financial information consistent with, where you've been over the past 12 to 24 months? Then you have a second hard inquiry. So because this process was about 8 or 9 months from initially going under contract to picking the floor plans and finalizing the build cost and closing, that was about like almost 9 months. They want to say, okay, what is your credit score and what does your credit look like now? They also have a LexisNexis fraud intelligence report. And to be honest with you, I don't know the full scope of this, but I know they did pull a LexisNexis in. The only thing for me that they were asking about was like an old address. But, this type of report has a ton of information from, insurance claims to auto accidents, any name variation you've ever had, any address you've ever lived at. This right here, I would say for those who are, cheerleading no docs and no paperwork and get a shelf corp and a CPN, and none of that is going to pass this LexisNexis fraud intelligence report. I'll tell you that right now. It's hard enough for them not to pull anything up even when all your information is legit. So if there's huge discrepancies, it's going to be identified in this report. This report is going to uncover all the nonsense that you see online. Like it is going to expose everything, right? Look, you can look this up. And then you have a credit letter of explanation, right? I literally had to write an explanation of what those inquiries are because they compare your credit report from different points in time. And if you have inquiries or new accounts, a lot of mortgage lenders want you to explain like what's going on, what is that all about? And so I just said, business related, and that was the end of that. Just to recap, right? Let's just go back to all of this information I had to provide. Credit pool on all 3 twice, 21, 22 personal and business taxes, bank statements and IRS records showing 21 and 2022 federal tax payments withdrawn from my bank account, 2023 profit and loss statement, and W-2. So I literally went into ADP, downloaded my W-2, the ADP produces for you automatically, pulled my profit and loss from QuickBooks, 4506T tax transcript requests, earnest money deposit withdrawn from bank account, last 3 business and personal bank statements, a second hard inquiry, LexisNexis fraud report, and this credit letter of explanation. So all of those documents to get approved for basically a $1.1 million construction loan, right? And that was a lot of information, right? So basically the lender has over 4 years of financial information, 4 years going all the way back as far as 2020. So they have they have the full financial picture. It was a lot of paperwork. This was the most paperwork, I would say, maybe not the most paperwork. I would say the longest financial scope that I've ever had to go through in terms of any type of underwriting process, right? These processes have to be like this because we're talking about over $1 million, right? A lot of money. So I say all this to say the whole point I wanted to make about this was that your paperwork has to be in order, right? Like, especially as you go up, construction loans, jumbo mortgages, if you do go that route, business loans, the paperwork is going to become much more thorough in 2024. The banks are not playing. They're verifying everything, cross-referencing everything. So I would say forget this whole idea of, going into these financial institutions with no or limited paperwork, because after going through this process, and again, I'm Mr. Paperwork, right? Mr. Get your paperwork in order. And this, even for me, was extensive. And the good thing about it is, again, all the paperwork was in order. Bank statements, tax records, employment records. When your paperwork is in order, it's so easy. Like everything that mortgage servicer asks for, I reply back within a couple of minutes, because either I had to go into my online banking, I had to log into ADP or QuickBooks, and all that information was available. The message for the year in the credit financial space is to get your paperwork in order, because the banks, they're not playing with you.